Nutrition plays such a big role in our mental health.
If you're a leader and you're hearing this, think about this, whoever you're leading. I don't care, because my guts were not in calm and peace.
No.
They were in chaos. The same shirt. It's yeah, I got the sniff test.
I'm good. Yes. I threw him off with the gender.
Because there were so many inappropriate things I wanted to say. So my brain's like, nope, not that one. Pull that one back. Don't say that.
Okay, we'll start over.
Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm your host, Sergeant Q, and with me as always, Doc Jess.
Hey, good morning.
And so today we're going to talk about quite a few really cool things. First of which is our new advancement. We're going to talk about virtual reality. And so I've been using this in the gaming sector for many, many years. And now they're using it for mental health, which is super cool. Then we're going to talk about some of the new things that are coming out in current events that may affect your mental health. We're going to talk about these deepfakes that are happening. So you've probably seen them before and how they could possibly impact your mental health journey. The tool for the toolbox, we're going to talk about how to save time by meal prepping. And it doesn't seem like something like that would be beneficial to your mental health, but it really is. And so we're going to break that down for you guys, show you all about it. Then we're going to get into a practical application, a tool from the toolbox. So Jess, what are we going to be doing today?
We're going to be going over a mock meal prep to show our audience how to do it.
Oh, so no therapy for me today.
Nope.
Exciting. All right. Well, that's what we have for you guys. Let's get right into it. Okay, Jess, talk to me about VR in the mental health space. My only experience has been with gaming. So talk to me about the mental health space in VR.
Well, I think I did VR one time at a friend's house and then watched the rest of the family play like this boxing game. And just the amount of laughs I got from it helps with mental health. Seriously. But as I was researching this, I have never used it, seen it, heard of it in the mental health space. But as I read about it, I thought, oh my gosh, this could be an incredible tool, right? So if we're thinking about some of my clientele, I have a lot of adolescents that struggle with social anxiety. And a lot of that stemmed from COVID and that shutdown, and it shut down their important growth process of having those uncomfortable conversations and it was shut down. And so it's hard to recover that intrinsic part of your growth as an adolescent. Okay. So to think about having this as a tool for some of those clients to be in a mock classroom and have to read out loud in front of your classmates and setting the tone for, okay, so mess up a word, see what that feels like. Are the kids around you making fun of you? No, not one of them actually would. It's all, some of those stuff, right, is made up in our head. And so having like a mock setup, and I'll throw it back to you about how we were talking about the limbic system and how it affects that. Right.
So it's really cool. What Jess is talking about with getting over these social anxieties or like exposure therapy that you can use the VR for. And you think like, well, how could that be? Because you're going to put this headset on and it's fake. Like, you know that it's not real. So how is that going to help? Well, let me just tell you, if you haven't tried VR, go try it and you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. So I'm going to explain it to you, but you're still not going to understand it until you put that headset on and you experience it for yourself. So what happens? I've worked in the gaming space with using different VR technology, but what really got me hooked was when I went to Japan a few years ago, and their VR technology is off the charts. It is amazing because the sense of realism that it has. And since then, you know, with the Oculus and all of those things that have come out, it's gotten really good. Your brain can't tell the difference between what is real and what is in that virtual reality. It can't tell the difference. Now, your conscious mind, your frontal lobe, your conscious mind, you can make the decision to say, okay, this experience is not real. It's a video game. I'm actually in my living room. It's totally fine. But your limbic system, which controls your nervous system and where it attaches to the amygdala, which controls your fight, flight, or freeze response, all those chemical reactions that happen in your brain, it doesn't know the difference. It can't tell the difference. Here's the example. I was playing a game. It was kind of like a World of Warcraft game where we were knights and dwarves and elves, and we're fighting these hordes of whatever they were, orcs. I don't know. But they kept pushing us back and pushing us back and pushing us back. And as we're fighting these things, I know that it's a video game. I know it's not real, but I look behind me and I can see this cliff just about 1.5 feet from where I'm standing. And this horde is like pushing us to the edge. And instantly, I got this shot of adrenaline and cortisol through my body. And I was like, whoa. And I felt that uneasiness, that off balance where you feel like you're going to fall. I felt all of that in a split second. And it wasn't real. I was in a room, kind of like we are now, in this big VR room. There's no cliff there. There's no real danger. But my brain couldn't comprehend that. It saw the edge. It looked realistic enough to fire off that fight, flight, or freeze, response. There we go. Couldn't think of the word. Response in my body to preserve life. That's what my brain wanted to do. It says, whoa, we're close to this edge. We got to get away from it because we don't want to die.
That's so cool.
And so now 2 parts of my brain are at war because the limbic system is telling me, get out of here. Like, you have to move away from this space because you're going to fall and die. And my conscious brain is saying, but I know that I'm really not. I'm in this room. And so it was this really weird battle between these 2 parts of my brain to figure out what was really happening in that moment. So if you haven't tried VR, go try it. And if you want this type of experience, on the Oculus, they have, it's called Richie's Walk the Plank. I think it's a free game you can get, or it's a couple bucks. Go get that game, download it, throw the VR headset on, and go walk the plank, and you'll experience exactly what I just talked about. And then you'll understand why this would be such a great use for somebody who's struggling with mental health, with exposure therapy or speaking in front of crowds, social anxiety, because you feel like you're really there in the moment. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think about specifically phobias. Could be some good exposure therapy with a VR headset at different anxieties, even post-traumatic stress disorder. And then I think to like ADHD and possibly autism, having some exposure to social situations that could help teach some. I have several autistic clients, and how fun it is to help like walk them through and learn how their brains work differently, and how sometimes they just need like what non-autistic people know to be like, this is when people say hello to you, you say hello back. Like my husband is very high functioning. Mm-hmm. And there's times that I go out with him and I have to stop and say, hey, because we'll walk into a store and the lady will be like, hey, how you guys doing today? And he'll just go, where's this? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, hey, honey, why don't you respond with a greeting first? He's like, oh, sorry, I'm so bad at that. Hi, thank you for asking. I'm having a great day. Where is this? And like, that is a very typical social cue that people on the spectrum might not necessarily know, that the people with non-autistic functioning know. And just like little practices or like that feel real in a virtual reality setting, I think could be really beneficial for things like that. And also, when you were talking about that, it reminded me sometimes of what dreams feel like the whole, when I'm in a dream, I can tell myself I am in a dream right now, but it feels so real. Even when I wake up from the dream, I'm like, that was just a dream, but it can throw me off for the rest of the day. And so that's interesting maybe to look into.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of apps inside of this VR technology that you can buy. So if you go into Oculus, which is probably the most commercialized version of this technology that you can use at home. Now it's it's an at-home version. So if you go into a studio, VR studio, it's going to be 100 times better. The technology is going to be better, faster. But the Oculus is great for at-home. They have some really cool meditation style apps that kind of walk you through these guided meditations with these really cool visualizations that are there. There's a lot of them that they're being developed right now, like you were talking about, for specific issues that people may be struggling with, that it can be finely tuned for you. And then you go into this experience, you have this interaction with this virtual character, and then it will tell you how well you did. What was your tone of voice like? What was your voice inflection like? How many words per minute you were speaking? All of these things, it tells you, gives you this feedback right away. And then you can go back with that knowledge and go into another scenario very similar and try again. And try again and try again until you get that repetition down and your brain starts to understand, oh, in this social setting, this is what people expect. And so it teaches your brain how to do that with that repetition, which is really, really cool. They've been trying to get some of this stuff into clinical studies, but it's still very subjective. So they don't really have the metrics to be able to put it into a study, because you have to have some sort of metrics that they can actually measure. And so I know that's a really big push now at these different conferences I've been going to, about trying to establish those metrics so they can start to test this theory, get actually good data so they can make improvements and move forward with it. So if you haven't tried VR, check it out. If you're a gamer, it puts gaming on a whole new level. Now, you're not going to get like Xbox style responsiveness or graphics, just know that. But for what it is, it's amazing. There is, and I'll just talk about this for a minute because I love VR gaming. They have a World War I and World War II ace fighter pilot game. I love to fly. My grandfather was a pilot. My grandmother was a pilot. I love to fly. I've been doing it since I was a kid. This thing is so real. Like, I'm in a dogfight and I'm pulling these G's in this aircraft. Now, the G's aren't happening to my body, but I'm still feeling that pressure because I'm turning really hard. And there's something in your brain, like I'm physically not feeling the G force, but in my brain, it knows what that G force looks like. It feels like, because I've flown before. And so I start to feel that. I can also feel my equilibrium changing. And if I'm in this thing for too long, doing too many rolls, doing too many stunts, too long in the dogfight, I'll start to feel nauseous because my brain, again, can't tell between what is real and what is not. So super, super unique experience. If you like zombie games, they have some zombie jump scare games that will definitely get your adrenaline going. There's another one where it's like a Jurassic Park style, where these dinosaurs are coming out.
No, thank you.
So it's very realistic. It's super fun. You can go on YouTube and watch videos of people playing these games and seeing how they interact. And then go try it for yourself. It's amazing.
Yeah. I like it for the laugh factor. I love watching people play. And it's funny.
We should do that. We should do an episode about laughter and how good it is actually for your mental health.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, one of the things I used to do when I was feeling depressed or having anxiety, I would go onto Amazon and I would read hot sauce reviews. And if you find my channel on YouTube and you just look up Sergeant Q hot sauce reviews, I'm telling you, I'm laughing so hard that I can barely catch my breath. And that's what I used to do. I'd read 2 or 3 of those and I'd feel better. And then I'd go about my day.
When I was in Iraq, that's what I watched. Whose Line Is It Anyways?
Yes.
Improv, Wayne Brady. And that was my medicine getting me through Iraq. I watched episode after episode after episode.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the brain body connection.
Cool. That's a good idea. Chemicals
that get released in your brain when you're laughing and how that works. So that's, So if you love fail videos like me, we do. It's great.
Yeah.
So that's your advancement is VR. Go check it out. Super fun to play with. Now, let's talk about these deep fakes, these AI deep fakes.
Yeah.
You did a little bit of research on this, right? So what did you find out?
Well, when Casey and Aaron first brought this deep fakes, I was like, what's a deep fake? And, they give me their look of disgust. But I found out that through them teaching me and looking some things up, these deep fakes are can be very dangerous. from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is with the AI technology, you can go as far as making yourself look like another person and sound like another person as you're talking, and that can be incredibly dangerous, right? They're starting to, you can imitate leaders, you can imitate another person on the phone. I guess you just need a few seconds of their voice to be able to then write a whole script in their voice and in their tone, inflection, so Aaron had one example of calling and saying, "Hey mom, I ran out of gas. Can you Venmo me $50?" Stuff like that. And so then we got into safe words, and you take it from there.
Yeah. So the deep fakes, when it was a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, where it really came to light. Like this was already happening, but it was just on the dark web and it wasn't really well known. But there was this guy who was deep faking Tom Cruise, to the point where people were like, what the heck is Tom Cruise doing? Like, this is crazy. And Tom Cruise had to come out and be like, hey, that's not me. This is some sort of AI. It's not me. And then the cat was out of the bag that this technology existed and you could really do this. How the deep fake worked, I would record myself saying something, doing something, and then I would put that into this program where this AI would then take Tom Cruise's facial imagery and what he has said before, all the hours of video of him talking, and it could take that and break it down to a mathematical equation and overlay it on my face. So now my words are coming out sounding and looking like Tom Cruise. And it was incredible. Now, this has all kinds of implications. One, you could imitate a world leader very easily. You could assassinate or you could kidnap a world leader, give a speech telling, his people to surrender, and they would do it. And it's a deep fake. So that's one of the things that everybody was worried about. But that's something that is kind of like pie in the sky, something big that is hard for us to that could happen, couldn't happen. But let's break it down to something a little bit more personal. And this is happening right now with these deep fakes. They're deep faking people's voices. Mm-hmm. And you can go on YouTube right now and you can look up deep fake child's voice. Pull that up. You're going to get a bunch of these results where this company is going out showing people how easy it is to fake your voice. And so what they did is they called in the video, it's a mother and a father. They're sitting there and they call the daughter. They talk to the daughter for like 20 seconds. She's like, oh, we're looking for so-and-so. Oh, wrong number. Okay, sorry about that. So they took that little bit of script that they had from the daughter, maybe 15 seconds of script. They put it into the machine. The AI generated so they typed out a script of what they wanted the AI to say. And it took it and it took that text and turned it into a voice that mimicked the daughter. And then they called the parents back as the daughter asking to Venmo them some money. And so the parents didn't know about this. They didn't know that this part was coming. So they had them take the call. They take it live as they're recording. It sounds just like their daughter. They're going to Venmo the money. And then that's when they do the big reveal. Like, that wasn't actually your daughter. That's a fake. Here's how we did it. So think about that now. You just picking up a wrong number, right? What you think is a wrong number, and talking to somebody for a few seconds, they could capture your voice and then turn around and use that to coerce or intimidate or manipulate a friend or family member into giving up their money. Like, oh, I've been kidnapped. I need money. Or, oh, hey, I ran out of gas. I need money. And now these scammers have access to your bank account. That's what's happening right now. And if you think, oh, that couldn't happen to me, go watch these videos. It's happening all the time. We know all about these scam baiters that happen out of India where they set up these shops and they're just like, oh, hey, I'm from tech support and your Microsoft Windows is infected and we need to get this virus off. That happens all the time. Mm-hmm. Well, this is the next evolution of that with this deep fake voices, where now it's not some unknown person. It sounds like a friend or family member that you have that is faking these words or faking these. Now it sounds like a friend or family member that is asking for your help or money, but really it's this deep fake scammer trying to get access to your bank account.
Yeah. And so people are concerned about where AI is going to take us,
Right.
which is understandable. And AI it's like social media. It's like money. It's kind of amoral, and it depends on what we do with it that makes it right or wrong.
Right. So amoral, what is amoral, Jess?
Well, my understanding is that like a $20 bill has no moral value. It depends on what I use that $20 bill for that puts moral value to it.
Perfect.
So the AI.
Okay. Yeah, just so you guys understand, the amoral means that whatever intention you put on that subject, that becomes its morality for that moment.
Yeah.
So same thing with AI is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with that. So you're probably thinking like, well, how do I protect myself? We're not here to spread fear.
No.
We're just trying to spread awareness about this is the way technology is heading. And here's some things that you can do to help yourself with your mental health, to help alleviate that fear of like, oh, could this happen to me? Mm-hmm. So we're going to give you guys this is really cool advanced technology. We're going to give you some really low tech things that you can do to protect yourself and your friends and your family from becoming a victim of something like these deep fakes. It's something that we've been doing in my family ever since my kids were old enough to walk and talk, is that we've had a code word that we use if something's going to be that we think might be dangerous, or something is kind of out of place, or if we're just checking in with that individual, I'll call and my daughter and say a couple words to her, and depending on her response, lets me know if she's okay or if she's not. Nobody else in her circle of friends knows this. Nobody else in the room understands what we're talking about. It's just one or two words that we use in a specific way to make sure everything is okay. And so I'll give you an example. This is not our code word, but I'm going to, let's say avocado. Okay. So let's say our word is avocado. Now, if we're out in public and I say avocado, my family knows they're going to look at me and then look the direction that I'm looking, because there's something over there that looks unsafe or looks like it might be dangerous or something's happening. So I'll say avocado, and no matter what we're doing, what conversations we're having, everybody's going to stop, look, and listen. Stop what they're doing, look at me, and listen to what's happening in the situation. Because it may be I see somebody robbing the store that we are in, and so I'm going to say avocado. They're all going to pay attention to me, and then I'm going to give them instructions on what we're going to do next. And I don't need to explain anything to them. Everybody knows exactly what to do in that moment in time. That's how we use a word like that to gain everybody's attention, because there's something unsafe that's happening. Another way that we utilize this is over the phone. So I'll call my daughter. She was supposed to be home at a specific time. She's running late, or she went to a concert and I just feel a little uneasy. So I'm going to call and check in on her, but I don't want her friends to know I'm checking in. Dad's checking in, right? She doesn't want that. So how do we overcome that? Well, we will use that same word in a sentence. And so you want to use a word that's common enough that it's not going to draw attention, but not so common in your regular language that it's going to be utilized all the time. Here's the example. Same word, avocado. And I would call my daughter and say, hey, Aaliyah, did you pick up avocados from the store today? She's going to say yes, or she's going to say no. Mm-hmm. If she says yes, then I know everything's okay. She's good. If she says no, I say, oh, do you want me to go get some? Yes, please. Okay, that means she's in trouble and I need to find out exactly where she is and get there as quickly as I can. Now, that's an example how you can use something super low tech to combat this super high tech advanced AI, is by using these words. And you don't share these words with anybody else outside of that specific family group. Nobody else knows about that except for myself, my wife, and my 2 kids. That's it. Nobody else knows what word we use. And you wouldn't even be able to pick it up because it's such a common word. Do you ever use anything like that? Jess, have you thought about that?
Yeah, we have a safe word in our house. And we've only had to use it once. And it's when Autumn, my youngest, was about 4 or 5. That's how young she knew to use the safe word. And we had some people over from church. We're trying to open our home and fellowship and, just hang out and serve them a nice meal and stuff. We didn't know them very well. And so their daughter had gone downstairs to play with Autumn. We had a playroom. And all I knew was Autumn came up and said, Mom, do you have any Skittles? Skittles not going to tell you guys my word, but for this purpose, Skittles was our safe word. And I was like, no, honey, I don't have any Skittles. But let me look. Will you come look with me? And we went into the pantry and shut the door. And she actually told me that this little girl was pinning her in the corner and beating her. And she was too scared to run up and be like, Mom, this little girl's beating me. But she knew that was a safe word to get me alone to tell me what was going on. And so that was a very successful event for us. To not successful, but a positive way we used that word, and we were able to, sit down with parents and explain what's going on, and they were able to fix it and get her into counseling and things like that. So it is something that we use. Maybe it's a military thing. I don't know, because I don't know many other people that have it. So this is really good information to put out.
Yeah, and it's something actually came from my military training, is because if you're heading to a checkpoint and you've got to get in there quickly, there's a pass and release code word that you're given for the day, and everybody knows what that password is. And so if you have to run to a checkpoint, you don't have time to go through the regular process. So you say out this code word, they're going to say a code word back to you, and then you're going to be allowed to get inside of the checkpoint. And that changes every day. Now for us, for our family, it doesn't change every day. We don't need that level of security, but we do have that. So that's something that is super low tech that you guys can utilize in your family to help just bring some safety and security into that group dynamic. And I'm telling you guys this to avoid being scammed, but you can use this like we've been using it just for safety when you're in a crowd, when you're out and about, when your children start driving. Just a really great tool that you guys can use to help alleviate some of that burden of anxiety that you may feel with the world and the state that it's in right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good.
All right. So Jess, we're going to talk about our tool for the toolkit is meal prepping. And so I will let you take care of that. That's women's work. And so I don't really know much about. I'm just kidding.
Take it back.
I'm just kidding. I just did that for Casey over there, make him do some editing. All right. So meal prepping, this is something we do in our house. We typically do it on Sundays, and we do it together as a family because we talk about what meals we want to have for the week, what type of meat we are going to cook that is going to last us for several days. And we just discuss that and kind of work together as a family to build out what our meal prep is going to be for the week. So tell us a little bit about why that's important, what that does.
So one good thing Casey brought up as we were getting ready is not to even call it meal prepping, but meal planning. Because sometimes we think of meal prepping like those are what like bodybuilders do. Like that's too much. And so I shut my mind off to it because I can't do it. Meal planning is totally different. And we're going to talk about both. Right. And so a meal planning in a home, right. We're living in an age where it's go, go, go. That's why there's so many fast food. There's so many quick ways to do things, the microwave generation, right? And so what does that lifestyle do to us? If we're eating fast food more than we should, which is a lot of people, we're not getting the nutrients we need. We're spending more money than we need. Our children are not getting the nutrients they need for their immune system, for their growth and development, for their brain development. Like it's real. You can do the research yourself. But I understand why people go to fast food because I've had seasons of my life where we ate fast food a lot because I didn't have my life in order to put priorities where they're supposed to be. And so that's what I'm going to call it. That's what I'm going to name it because that's what it is for me in my life. So for me, in my mental health journey, it was a huge benefit when I started learning how to meal plan. And what that looked like for me to start was even going to Costco and getting the box of organic burritos or whatever to have as a backup. That helps me not have to go through a drive-through. Like I know I have a backup. I have an option. Frozen meals from Costco are a good, like, even if there's a season of our lives, like there's such busy seasons of our lives that we have to 2 or 3 nights a week eat those frozen meals. But I guarantee you it's better than what we were doing, going through Taco Bell or McDonald's or whatever they are. It's still better for you and for your life and for your budget, right? So I would sit down. Well, let's talk first about the benefits.
Okay.
Mental health wise. Going back to nutrients, and I went to a conference about how nutrition plays such a big role in our mental health. Our gut is our second brain. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so one thing you have to remember is that even eating at restaurants, they're using cheaper ingredients to mass produce, especially fast food. They're using fillers. They're using, like, you're not getting nutrient dense foods when you're eating out. Even at sit down restaurants, they use more sodium. They use more cheap canola oils, sugars, like, because they want you to come back and they got to feed you more people for less. And so it is what it is. You're not getting nutrient dense foods when you eat out, period. But depending on the restaurant, even worse. And so all these nutrient deficiencies play a role in our mental health. Think about how much more of a role they're playing in the mental health of your children as their brains are developing. And so hopefully even I can take something from this today to remind me how important it is for me to be feeding my family nutrient dense foods. And it doesn't have to look like the rainbow of food every day, but taking one step at a time. Okay, these next 2 weeks, if you look at your pattern and you're eating fast food 3 nights a week, and if you can cut that down to 1 night a week and then have a backup, like those frozen meals from Costco or something, those 2 nights a week, and slowly start making changes like that. And when we go over our practical at the end, we'll kind of talk about how to do that practically as a single mom, as a 2-parent family, with kids that are in sports, with kids that are homeschooled, with kids that go to school and get school lunches, stuff like that. What is your experience with meal planning or prepping?
Yeah, so I liked what you talked about in the beginning, where you said our society is just go, 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 go. And it's hard to take time to stop and breathe and figure out what you're doing. So you just go to the lowest common denominator, which is fast food. I can get in there. 1, it's expensive. 2, it's not nutrient dense. And 3, it's going to be terrible on your gut. It just is. And so I remember I haven't eaten fast food in years. I just don't do it. I've just stayed away, and it's been great for my mental health and for my gut. I had to go to the pharmacy to pick up something for Holly, and she was at the women's retreat. And I was like, okay, I can go pick this thing up. I went there. I didn't have my wallet. So I had enough money to pay for whatever that prescription was that I was picking up, and I had $7 left. And I'm like, I have not eaten yet because I was go, go, go. My wife was gone at this women's event, so we hadn't done the meal prepping that we normally did. And I was like, what can I get for $7? It's like, oh, there's Taco Bell right there. I thought, I haven't had Taco Bell in forever. I could just get a bean burrito. I'll be fine. I was not. I was not. That stuff is poison. And if you don't believe me, don't eat it for a month and then go have a bean burrito. And it is a full body cleanse. Okay.
And not in a good way.
No, it just, because it's poison. Your body is not supposed to be trying to ingest that stuff. So it just terrorized me. Now, if you eat it on a regular basis, your body
adjusts to it. Yes.
That's right. But I hadn't eaten it in years. And so that was my experience when I went back to fast food. And I was like, okay, learned my lesson. Not going to do that.
Yeah.
But my experience with the meal planning has been a reduction of cognitive load. And so what does that mean? Reduction of cognitive load. That means it's one less thing that I have to process through in my brain. It's one less thing I have to give attention or energy to in my day, so I can be more focused at my work and focused with my family, because I'm not worrying about what am I going to eat? What are we going to do? How are we going to make this? Do I have the ingredients? All of those things add stress and create cognitive load, which is the amount of processing your brain has to do. Think about it like this. If you need to run a Zoom meeting on your laptop, it's better to close down all the other windows that you have open, because with all those windows, they're all using RAM, random access memory, which in a human is called cognitive load. Same thing. RAM is cognitive load. So the more windows you have open, the more processes are going. Maybe it's taking 1%, 2%, but all that adds up. And now 60% of your RAM on your computer is being used up by all these useless functions that don't even need to be open. Websites that are open or programs that are running, email that's up. But if you close all of those down, now you have a lot more of that random access memory for your computer. It can focus that on the Zoom meeting. You get more clarity, less dropped, better audio. You don't get grainy video. It just becomes a lot better. So the same thing with us.
Yeah, it's really good.
When we can automate all those little tiny things that we have to worry about, what we're going to wear, what we're going to eat, automate all those little things.
That's why you wear the same thing every day?
That's exactly why. Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yes. No, she stole my thunder. That's exactly the point I was getting to. If you see me, most days you're going to see me in a pair of black Columbia pants and one of these black polo shirts. I don't have to think about what am I going to wear. I'm going to wear the same thing. I've got a closet full of these. So it's not the same shirt. I've been homeless. I've done that.
Thank you.
But it's not the same shirt. It's yeah, I got the sniff test, but I wear the same thing. Every now and then you might see me in something different, but the majority of time, or it's going to be like I have this black Columbia wicking shirt on underneath. That's what you're going to see me in. I don't have a big variety of clothes that I wear because that's time it takes me in the morning to figure out what am I going to wear? Does this shirt match with this pants? Where are these socks? Where are the shoes? I don't do any of that. I've reduced my cognitive load when it comes to what I'm going to wear during the day. Mm-hmm. And it has helped me tremendously. I save so much time in the morning. I don't lose any time because I know what I'm going to wear is what I wore yesterday. The same stuff. So think about meal planning as the same thing. You're reducing the cognitive load. You don't have to think about what groceries do I need for this meal? Do I have the meat? Did I take it out of the freezer? Did I do this? You don't have to think about any of those things anymore because you spent one day, typically we do it on a Sunday, where we will plan out the meals for the next week.
Yeah. And one thing that reminded me as you were talking is the cognitive load that is decreased because in your family, if you have a family with children, I don't know how many time. Hey, what are we having for dinner? What are we having for dinner?
Yes.
Oh, we're going to have this. Oh, all right. Okay. So I have a 2-week and I first to tell you, I need to get back to it because when I do this meal planning, our life is so much more structured and calm and peace, right? So if I have...
Wait, say that again. It's so much more...
Calm and peace.
Calm and peace. And you may not understand that, but once you start doing it, you're going to feel that calm and peace that Jess just talked about.
So it's kind of like when you ate the Taco Bell. Like if I'm living chaos every day, I don't realize how hard it is on me until I practice calm and peace. Mm-hmm. And then when I get back into chaos, I'm like, oh, I got to get back to that calm and peace. Right. And that we'll save that for another podcast. But when
my guts were not in calm and peace.
No.
They were in chaos.
Yes, exactly. So I have
tag that one, Casey.
So I have a menu at home, a whiteboard, and Tuesday is Taco Tuesday. Every Taco Tuesday, my kids don't. And if I have it listed off and they come to me and say, what's for dinner? I say, go look at the board. And they look at the board. And when I do that consistently and that structure is so good for the family because they start getting into a schedule of being able to help me on certain days where they can help me. Hey, chop the lettuce. Help me ground this meat. And then there's no complaining in my house over dinner. If you literally complain in my house over what's for dinner, you eat rice and beans with no seasoning for 3 days. I'm feeding them all their nutrients. Don't call CPS on me. I have done it with both of my children once and only once, and they've never complained about dinner again. So we'll save that for another podcast as well. But the structure and discipline and consistency when I do this meal planning is so good on so many levels for my cognitive load, for my kids' cognitive load, for my budget, all of that, right? And we'll get into more detail of how to apply this to your lives in our next segment.
Right. It's incredible. And so we're talking about meal planning for our families and for ourselves. But what we're really talking about is reducing the cognitive load, which is going to give you a better mental health journey. And so if you're a leader and you're watching this right now, this just isn't for your family. Think about how you can reduce the cognitive load of your staff. I was just in a meeting earlier this morning before we did this podcast, And we were talking about that. What systems do we have in place right now that are too cumbersome? And how do we reduce the cognitive load of our people by utilizing technology and AI to take some of those menial tasks to reduce the cognitive load of our people so they can be more productive at the things that they're really good at, the things that actually make money for the company, and not these useless tasks that can be automated and given out to AI to do. And so that's literally what we were talking about. So if you're a leader and you're hearing this, think about this, whoever you're leading. I don't care if you're in charge of one other person. How can you help that individual reduce their cognitive load? Because they're going to have a better mental health journey if you can do that, which is increased productivity for your company, reduce the amount of burnout that they have, and they're going to be happier and healthier, which means they're going to be referring their friends to come and work for your company as well. So I run a totally separate group called Workplace Wellness. You can find us on Facebook. If you're a leader and you want to know more things like this, how do we take these mental health tools and tips and apply them to our work? You can check that out. We'll put a link in the description. You can join that group. It's just for leaders. So if you're not in a leadership position, you don't own a company, you're not in an executive function, probably not the group for you. I have some other groups that you can join, but this one is specifically for those who are in leadership, who value mental health and want to help their employees have a better mental health journey. You can join that, and we'll share a lot more in depth about how this stuff works. All right, Jess, well, let's get into our last segment, which is our practical application. And you're going to go through a meal plan. I'm a prepper. Okay. I'm like a real prepper. Okay. Y'all know what that means. So I say prepping because I'm like legit Armageddon. Let's go. I'm ready. Okay. Some of y'all might not be on that tip. That's okay. I am.
Be on that what?
On that tip.
Tip. Okay.
Tip of the spear. Right. Okay. Y'all might not be on that, but I am. So I call it meal prepping. Jess calls it meal planning.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that. We're going to break it down, and she's going to walk you through the process, and you can start applying this right now today. You can start building this out for yourself, and you're going to experience a reduction of cognitive load and be like, wow, why haven't I done this sooner?
Yeah. And when we get away from it, we ask ourselves, why did I get away from it? That's me.
Yes. But here's the thing. You're just going to be in chaos. You'll be like, why is this so hard right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I'm not doing these things I'm supposed to be doing. There's a sermon in there, you know. Paul said, I do the things that I don't want to do, and Romans I don't 6. Do the things that I want to do. Right? So that's what he says. And that's what we're talking about. And you're going to experience that as you go through this process. Right. So hang tight. We'll be back in a minute, and we're going to get right into this meal prep.
Well, welcome to our coaching session today, awesome. Aaron. In the weeks following, we have come to, this point where you finally feel you're ready to learn to meal plan. Right?
Yes.
And the benefits that will bring to you and your family. So what does a typical week look like for you in eating dinner?
So for me, eating dinner
You and your family.
Yeah. So there's so many activities that happen during the week. I work, my wife works, and then our kids have after school activities. And so when you get home from work, it's usually a phone call of, hey, can you pick this up? Or, hey, do you want to grab pizza tonight? Or, oh, chicken wings. Chicken wings are probably like the number one thing that we love. Grab a bucket of chicken or something like that. That's typically what dinners are like. We try to do homemade ones, but there's just no time.
Mm-hmm. What does your weekends look like?
The weekends are a little bit easier. We typically do have a meal. Maybe we'll go out to a restaurant on like a Saturday. And then Sundays, typically we have a meal. We'll usually barbecue like Sunday afternoon and have something, home cooked. But yeah, that's typically what the weekends look like.
Okay, nice. And budget wise?
Oh, geez, I don't even know. Like it's so expensive
to
eat out, but I don't feel like we have really any other option right now. There's just no time.
Yeah.
I know it's way more expensive. To be doing what we're doing. That's one of the reasons that we want to try to do meal planning is because we know it's going to be cheaper and, money's tight.
Yeah. How many nights a week do your kids have after school?
Soccer practice is every night, and then choir practice is twice a week.
Which days is choir?
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Soccer is every night from what time?
Usually like 4:30 to 6.
Okay. So is it important to you to have the same time to eat every night?
It would be nice to have some sort of structure.
Okay. Yeah. So if we did 6:30 every night for dinner, so that means on the nights of choir, something really quick, already prepped to throw in the oven for 35, 40 minutes, and then you eat. So maybe a couple casseroles that you can prep beforehand. Does that sound something like you guys could do?
I wouldn't know even where to begin. I mean, it'd be nice to do, but I wouldn't know where to even start.
Yeah. And do you or your wife cook at all?
Oh, yeah. We love to cook.
Okay.
We just don't have the time for it.
Okay. So if you set aside, what nights a week are choirs? Tuesdays and Thursdays, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So if we look at Sunday, takes about an hour and a half to prep 2 casseroles. Would you have an hour and a half on Sundays?
Yeah, Sundays are usually our easiest day.
Okay. So is this something that you and your wife could set aside priority to about 2 or 3 hours to meal plan on Sundays?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really the only time we would have.
Okay. 2-3 hours. Okay. So what time? Let's put a time down that you guys are going to meal plan together.
Probably 1:00 because we'll be back from church. We'll have eaten lunch. And so about 1:00 we could start doing it.
Perfect. So people share recipes and stuff all different ways. You can, if you have a few minutes at lunch, look up, there's so many resources on Pinterest or TikTok or Instagram of easy, quick family dinners. And you can share them and then start looking at when you want to do those together throughout the week. Another option is, how many days a week do you eat fast food?
Oh, just about every day. I'd say 5 days a week at least.
5 times at least. Okay. And that was probably on those Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah. And then the other 3 days that they have soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we could reduce that eating out to 2 days a week, fast food. Okay. Then 3 days a week, we're getting more nutrient dense foods, right? Because if we're going to jump straight into, 5 days a week, we have to have home cooked meals, you're going to fail at that. It's too big of a leap. So let's start with reducing down to 2. Does that sound like something you and your wife could do?
Yeah, I think 2 days.
2 days fast food.
Yeah, because 5 days, it just seems overwhelming.
So it is overwhelming to start there. But once you see the benefit of these 3 days that you're going to meal plan for, it's going to motivate you, I believe, to slowly reduce then down to 1. And so, going from 5 days a week eating fast food down to 1 over a month or 2 is a huge benefit to you and your family, nutrients wise and budget wise. Right. So let's start this week. I would challenge you and your wife to sit down on Sunday, and for the first 30 minutes, we're going to come up with 2 casserole dishes that you guys can prep and make together. Like they have a really easy chicken enchilada casserole and shepherd's pie type casseroles that you can make and prep beforehand, put in the refrigerator, and then have literally on the saran wrap, right? 375 degrees for 35 minutes, right? And that's whoever's at home while the other's running kids around throws it in the oven that night. And so that's 2 home cooked meals throughout the week. And then do you guys have a Costco membership?
Yes.
Okay. One thing I do, and that's helped me and other clients, is if your family likes diversity in what they eat, like chicken wings or pizza, get pre-made frozen meals. So get those. If you want a pizza night, get it at Costco, a frozen meal. It's going to save you money, and it's going to be a lot of them are better for you than going to Papa John's or Domino's or Pizza Hut. And if you really love those takeout dinner nights, have that be one of your other nights that you eat pizza. Just these slow but steady growth goals in your meal planning. But I would also suggest, Costco every month has specials on their frozen meals, whether it's their orange chicken or pre-made Angus beef burgers, things like that are still going to be, obviously it's not going to be ideal, but it's way better than eating fast food. budget wise and nutrient wise. And so let's together, you and your wife, figure out 3 frozen quick meals that you can get at Costco.
Okay.
And then just go to Costco and just get those. And so when you guys decide on your 2 casserole meals that you're going to do for Tuesdays and Thursdays, write the ingredients that you need just for those 2. And then when you go to the grocery store, that's all you get. So that when, in the future, when you start meal planning, once you get to 3 or 4 nights a week, you'll know exactly what ingredients you need from the grocery store. And so you're not looking around like, oh, what do we want for dinner this week? And you're buying a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, we end up buying a ton of junk food doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's going to be times that your kids need some snacks and stuff for lunch. But one of the first steps in this meal planning is having a list, because you already know what you're going to make and sticking to the list. And that's a huge benefit for your nutrient intake and your financial budget. What do you think about this plan?
I'll try it. I'm not sure. I'm the kind of person that needs to see it before. I mean, it looks on paper, it looks fine, but I actually got to go and try it and see if I can make it work.
Sure. Yeah. And when we meet again next week, we'll talk about how it was.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's how simple it can be to have this discussion with your spouse about meal planning. What is it that we can do? Don't set such a big goal that you just feel overwhelmed. Start with 1 or 2 nights. That was a great thing, Jess. I hadn't even thought about bringing that up to people, but setting those smaller goals to just say, we're just going to do this for 2 nights a week and just try it. And once you get that consistency down, then you can start building on that success. Because if you say, we're going to do 5 days a week, we're going to do all of these things, and then when you fall short, you fail, and your brain says, see, I knew that wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And it's going to be harder to start the next time.
Yeah.
But if you can set a small goal and you win at that small goal, your brain's going to release some dopamine and serotonin that you accomplished that goal, which is going to give you motivation to do more and be bigger. And so people always talk about, oh, if you've got to do something, do the hardest thing first thing in the morning. I said, no, that's a good way to fail. If you got to do something hard, let's get some easy wins early, which builds momentum so you can do that big thing, right? And I'm not talking procrastinating and putting it all the way off to the end of the day, but that whole concept of do the hardest thing first thing in the morning. No, that's a great way to fail. Build some momentum. So same thing with this, build some momentum. So one of the things that I do with our meal prepping, and so my daughter still lives on my property, so she has a lot of meals with us, and it's just me and my wife and my daughter. And then now my mom, she is with us sometimes. So between us and Las Vegas, so she'll come. We meal prep, but we do it a little bit different. We do it a lot more simple than this. I see how this would work really good, especially with small kids who want that diversity. For us being adults, Sunday night, we'll throw a roast in the crock pot and we will cook that, or Sunday afternoon, we'll cook that all the way down. We'll bring it out, we'll shred it. And then we'll have all this meat. We'll have, 5-6 pounds of shredded meat. Now, we don't put a ton of seasoning in that because if you season it all one specific way, then you're eating it like that all week. But we'll just have the meat, a little bit of salt and pepper, and then we break that into different portions. And then we decide what we're going to do that. Monday, we're going to do Greek fries with this shredded beef on top and then all the fixings on top. So that's what we're going to do. Then on Tuesdays, we're going to do Taco Tuesday. So we just have the shredded meat and we'll take some taco seasoning, throw it in there. We'll warm it up real quick and we'll just have all the fixing for tacos. The Wednesday nights, we may have made taquitos with that meat and it's sitting in the freezer frozen. So we're just putting them in the air fryer. So we do the meat and then our fixings or our starches are very, very simple that we do.
Yeah.
We do the same thing with chicken where we'll put a bunch of chicken in the crock pot, we'll shred it all down, and then we'll build out these different menu items that we can do throughout the week. And then each of those portions are set aside. We even bring that for lunch. So my daughter and I will take that meat and we'll say, okay, I'm going to bring this and there's some leftover mashed potatoes from last night. I'm going to throw that all in a bowl, put some saran wrap over it. And when I get to work, it goes from the fridge into the microwave, cook it up real quick, and I'm eating it and I'm gone. And I'm not having to think about where am I going to eat? how expensive is it to go get a Jimmy John sub, like all of these different things. So for us, we meal prep, but we really meal prep the meat that we're going to cook for the week. And then we just make a bunch of different, very simple dishes on that meat that we've cooked. Yeah. So that's another way that you can do it. With little kids, might not work the same way, because with us as adults, I could have, a steak one night and then chop the rest of that into little squares and throw some Brussels sprouts in the oven and have, steak bites and Brussels sprouts, and I can be happy. Little kids, maybe not. But for us, that's how we do our meal prepping now as adults, and it works out fantastic for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And you feel free to, give us feedback and say, hey, can you elaborate more on what your meal planning looks like? I've taken women actually through I've created groups where we share, like, this is my week of meal planning, and other women will be like, I'm just going to hop on your week. And I share with them my ingredients list of what I need for each of those. And so this is a really good community base to build as well, to share ideas with people who have maybe been doing it longer than you, or if you're just getting started, or if you are a good meal planner, good meal prepper, helping other people that are interested in learning more. And so share.
And to think of like, well, what ideas, like you said, you can go to your friends. What we did is we started a little Facebook group with just the four of us. And when we see a recipe on Facebook or something on TikTok, a meal, we just throw it right in there. And then as we're prepping that Sunday, we'll look at those different meals and decide like, oh, hey, we really want to try these couple recipes that we saw during the week. Yeah. That's another really fun way that you guys can do it. But yeah, tell us in the comments, what do you guys do? What's been your experience? And tell us some of your wins. It'd be really cool to hear from you guys. All right. Well, that's it for the Mental Health Janitors, where we hope that we can educate, empower, and encourage you on your mental health journey. And so I'm Sergeant Q, and this is Doc Jess.
And we're out.